Hey, what's going on, crew? John Dietz here from Kubefirst. I am here today to show you what happens after a Kubefirst install so that you can get started fast. So you are likely here after going through these install docs. Very simple to install the Kubefirst platform. You have to download our CLI, and then you have to run an init command and then a cluster create command. And the end result of running that cluster create command is a terminal screen that looks a lot like this. Let me talk through this just a little bit. So first we show you the AWS account that you have installed the Kubefirst cluster to, what region you installed it into, and what domain you attached it to. And then we go through the various tools that we've installed and provide you with the root level credentials for getting into those tools, which is all you can start out with until you add your team to the Kubefirst platform. So let's go through the process of initializing your very first Kubefirst platform and getting your team added to Kubefirst. So first, what we're going to do, my domain that I used here is this domain called yourcompany.io. Your domain is obviously whatever your domain is. And you'll have a GitLab whatever your domain is, and a vault Argo CD etc. So let's go to gitlab.yourcompany.io and log in with our initial credentials. Copy the password here, and let's go to GitLab. So this is gitlab.yourcompany.io, and when you log in for the first time, you'll note that the username is root, and the password is this long password that I have blacked out there. So let's log in. And you start out with two repositories that we create for you. We have a Kubefirst GitOps repository and a Kubefirst Metaphor repository. GitOps is where everything is. It's where our infrastructure as code is. It's where all of our applications that are installed to Kubernetes are configured, all the Helm charts. And Metaphor is a sample application. And we deliver Metaphor to a development, staging, production environment to show you how the Kubefirst platform works and how to integrate with all these great tools like Cert Manager, external DNS, external secrets, Vault, all the things. We have Metaphor showing an example of how to hook into all these great Kubernetes CNCF tools. So first, let's first things first, let's add a little bit of personality to our root administrator here. If you go to Preferences and then hit Profile, you can add your own image for your administrator bot account. This is our buddy K-Ray. We love K-Ray at KubeShop. We're going to use that icon for our Kubefirst automation commits that happen as part of the platform. Go down here and I'm going to change the name too. Instead of the boring administrator name, the Kubefirst bot account, I'm going to name it Kubefirst. You could name it your project name. You could name it your company name, whatever you like. You could leave it administrator, obviously, if you wanted as well. So now that we've prettied up the administrator a little bit, let's go to that GitOps repository. If you go to projects and explore your projects, you can click on GitOps. And there's really just three main directories that we want to call out. There's Terraform. Terraform has all your infrastructure as code, and all your IAC is automated through Atlantis. If we take a look at this Atlantis YAML here, it says that there's some directories that it's going to be watching. So if we go to Terraform, you can find those directories. And the base directory has almost all of the AWS cloud resources are here. This is how we bootstrap the Kubefirst platform. It includes your DynamoDB backend for Vault. It includes your S3 buckets for state storage, KMS keys for encryption, your EKS cluster, some security groups, etc. We also manage GitLab itself. So all of the content that you have in GitOps, including your repositories, in GitLab, including your GitOps repositories and everything, are managed as configuration as code using Terraform. So you can see that our Kubefirst repositories include Metaphor and GitOps. It's all in Terraform IAC. If I hit dot there, I can bring up the tree view. And let's also take a look at users. We start out the Kubefirst platform just showing you a pattern. So we have two imaginary administrators named admin1 and admin2. And we also come with two imaginary developers named developer1 and developer2. You would want to change those files via pull request to be your team that you want to be included on the Kubefirst platform. And by adding your developers, by adding your administrators to these two simple files, all of your admins, all your devs are going to get access to all of the tools, including Argo CD, Argo Workflows, Vault, you name it, GitLab itself. And they're set up automatically with some sensible roles for what they should and shouldn't be allowed to do. We also have Vault configured as Terraform infrastructure as code as well. That includes our backend for Kubernetes, so that Kubernetes is automatically set up to be able to pull secrets through external secrets out of Vault, make them available to your applications. We'll have deep dives videos on all of that stuff. But just know that your Terraform IAC is there and that it's all automated through Atlantis. Now, the way Atlantis works is if you take a look here, it says that basically whenever any of these directories are being edited, when a pull request includes files that end in .tf, then it's going to run an Atlantis plan. So let's take a look at what that looks like. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the base directory here. So let's go to Terraform base, and I'm just going to make any old change, like a new line at the end of the file. And I'm going to commit this to a new pull request called show Atlantis. And when I hit, I'll just say white space. So when I open this new pull request, what's going to happen is Atlantis is going to receive a webhook from this repository that says, hey, some Terraform has changed in this directory. Go ahead and run a plan, a Terraform plan against that directory and show us anything that has changed. So in a second here, it's going to come back with a Terraform plan. Looks like it's still running. And yeah, you can see that it's running an Atlantis plan against Terraform base default there. And so now I should get a plan. There we go. So Kubefirst, our admin bot account here, comes back and says, hey, here's the output of the Terraform that got executed. And this is the newer versions of Terraform that show you everything that's happened in your infrastructure. And then down below this solid line, it'll show you what's going to change if you apply this plan. Now, you can see that there's no changes with this plan, and that makes sense, right? Because all I did was added a white space to a Terraform file. But just that white space was enough to advise Atlantis, hey, something's changed, run a plan, show me the plan, and if we like the plan, we can apply it. So let's go through and show the experience when we are in that same show Atlantis branch, but we've changed more than just the base repository. So we'll add a white space to something in the GitLab directory. We'll add white space to something in the versions directory and something in the Vault directory as well. So when I commit those changes, basically what that's going to do, I've now changed Terraform content in each of the 4 Terraform entry points. So what GitLab is going to do is it's going to recognize through Atlantis that, hey, 4 Terraform entry points have changed. We need to run individual plans for all 4 of them. We're going to run one plan for base, one for GitLab, one for the users module, and one for Vault. And when we take a look at the pull request, go back to GitOps, merge requests. And you can see up here that the pipeline is still running. Let's take a look at that. This time you can see that it's already run a plan for Terraform base default, and it's moved on, and now it's running a different plan for GitLab. Now it's run another one for users. It's running the Vault one right now. And if we go back to our pull request view, now we should have, or in a second, we're going to have a new update here that shows not one plan like what was shown up here, but we're going to see 4 individual entry points have plans, and all 4 of those need to be reviewed. Now, the base Terraform directory has no infrastructure changes, so that's safe to apply. Same with GitLab. Same with Vault. All of these were already applied as part of the Kubefirst CLI provisioning process. But here we can see that these users have not yet been applied. So if your first pull request to the GitOps repository is to add your team and replace that developer 1, developer 2, admin 1, admin 2 user with your actual team, then all of those users would be a part of this 3rd plan. I obviously don't know the names of your developers and administrators, so we're stuck with just using admin 1 and admin 2, developer 1 and developer 2. But you can see what it's doing is it's creating some GitLab groups, excuse me, for administrators and developers. And then it's going through for each user, like admin 1 here, and it's creating a GitLab user. It's creating a random password for that user, putting the generic secret in Vault. It's adding them to the administrator group in GitLab. There's an OIDC component so that GitLab is being leveraged as an OIDC provider throughout all of the applications, and you can leverage those same credentials, single sign-on throughout the entire platform. Looking through the remainder of this plan, it's the same type of stuff for admin 2, and then for developer 1, and then for developer 2. So this plan looks great. I'm going to go ahead and type Atlantis apply here, and that's going to create some new users in the Kubefirst ecosystem. It's adding the users to GitLab. It's putting their passwords in Vault. And we're going to go to Vault in a second and take a look at how that works. So the other thing that we wanted to show you, since we're still in GitLab here, is Metaphor. Metaphor is our sample application. And it runs in GitLab. It has GitLab runners, but the GitLab work that we have is integrated with Argo Workflows in this really neat way. So Argo Workflows is responsible for all of our automation. It's a cloud native tool, just a really good workflow engine. Similar to GitHub Actions, if you're familiar with GitHub Actions, very strongly typed inputs and outputs, but it's all cloud native and runs very nicely in Kubernetes. So things that you'll want to do in your CI, like pull secrets into your individual CI steps, you can do that in a very, very granular way. Keep your secrets limited to only their specific use cases. Lots of good reasons to use Argo Workflows. We use GitLab to integrate with Argo Workflows, but Argo Workflows is actually doing all of the work. So let's show you what that looks like. We're going to kick off a job here. It takes a minute, so I'm just going to kick off any old CI. I have this file here in metaphor.argo CI files called trigger.txt, which if you just edit the file, if you edit any file in the repository's, in the repository's main branch, that's going to kick off a publish operation. Now, typically, your developers would submit pull requests, and only when that got merged would it hit the main branch. This is just to expedite that process. So because I've changed the main branch here, you can see in CI CD, there's a pipeline that's kicked off. It'll always start out with an initial one that failed. That's nothing to worry about. This first one that you proactively kick off is once all the pieces are in place so that the CI can work. And you can see from a publish standpoint, it's right now waiting for a GitLab runner to wake up and start working that job. And the first thing it's going to do is make a call out to Argo Workflows to publish a container, publish a Helm chart. It's going to be a pre-release Helm chart, deliver that Helm chart to a development staging environment. Then it's going to go through a formal release process, republish the Helm chart as a published release, and then it's going to automatically version bump the Helm chart for the next version. So all of that's really cool. You can see that this is kicked off now. Each job that runs on the Kubefirst platform, or sorry, in Argo Workflows, runs in individual containers. So every single time you hit a new cluster workflow template, the experience is really nice. In GitLab, you get this nice color change as it jumps from container to container. And like I said, you can keep your secrets limited in scope of what has access to them to a very, very granular level. So it's really cool. We'll come back to Metaphor and check in on that in a second. Next thing we're going to do, if we reference this output, is we're going to go to your Vault server and we're going to copy the token that was placed right here. So let me go to my actual version and copy that value. And let's go to Vault. So there are a handful of different methods for logging into Vault. Your root token is kind of like your master administrator of Vault. You want to keep that secret very closely guarded. That is your way to break the glass if OIDC ever needs attention and you need to get into Vault to resolve the issue. You're going to need that root token. So don't lose any of that content that comes at the end of a Kubefirst cluster installation. Keep that tucked away in a safe place. So we're going to paste that token in here. And this lets you into Vault for the first time. So it gives you a warning here that that's the root token, and be super careful with that value. Let's take a look first at users. We just created 4 new users: admin 1, admin 2, developer 1, and developer 2. Their single sign-on passwords are dropped in Vault. You would have to distribute these values to your team however is appropriate for you. You can view these individual passwords here. Let me copy this value. And with these credentials, let's go back to GitLab for a second and see the user experience. So I'm going to open an incognito window here and go to gitlab.yourcompany.io. And instead of logging in as the administrator like we did just a little bit ago, I'm going to log in as admin 1 with that password that I just copied out of Vault. I'm going to click Remember Me here. And now I'm in as a member of your team into GitLab. And I can use those same single sign-on credentials to get to GitLab, to get to Vault, to get to Argo CD, Argo Workflows, etc. So let's see what that experience looks like. I'm going to jump into Argo CD next as an administrator on the platform. And you have this button here where you can log in via GitLab. And if I click this, it says, hey, are you authorizing use of Argo CD to GitLab? We say authorize. And now we're in Argo CD, again, not as the credentials that Kubefirst provided you here. That's for the root administrator password. For this example, I'm showing you as an administrator that got added to the team as part of IAC. Now you're logged into Argo CD as well. The Vault experience for OIDC is to, if you're an administrator, you have to put admin as the role there. And when you sign in and hit authorize, now you're logged in as an administrator. Now, you'll notice if you go to secrets that there's no users here like there was with the root password. That's because the ACL for administrators says that they shouldn't necessarily have access to all the individual developers and admins' passwords. So only the root account has access to that users that we were looking at over here. If I go back to secrets, this is where I'm logged in as root, and we have this users backend. But administrators and developers won't be able to see that content. So once you distribute those passwords, basically just keep the root token closely guarded and distribute those initial passwords to your team. They'll be able to manage their own passwords in GitLab from that point forward. So that's pretty much what we want to show you initially about Vault. If we go to secret here, we have individual secrets for all of our different technologies. Good to explore those and see sort of how those secrets are being defined and leveraged. And let's go back to Argo CD. So with Argo CD, let me do this with the logged in user instead. This is the user that was a member of your team. So if we go to Argo CD from here, this is the administrator experience in Argo CD. You can see that all of our applications have been registered via GitOps through Argo CD, and everything that's a part of the platform is managed this way. Now, the equivalent source in code is in the GitOps repository here. And if you go to registry, this is how the content gets into Kubefirst, into the cluster. So we have this registry directory bound to this root application in Argo CD. And basically, if we take a look at the app details here, it says that the Kubefirst GitOps Git repository has a path called registry. And this is what's registered with Argo CD. It's the only entry point that's registered with Argo CD. And as you add additional tools to the platform, maybe you don't like Argo Workflows and you want to use Jenkins or whatever, you would basically need to go to the registry and add another app to this folder, and it will just become a part of the cluster. Now, an app in Argo CD, it's a whole awesome world of GitOps. An app doesn't necessarily mean just one app. An app can be an app of apps, which in turn can be an app of apps. So you can have very complex registration of many components just by adding a file here that references another folder in the same directory. And you can follow that pattern by looking at what we're doing for development. So development here says, hey, to get the development stuff, go to this same Kubefirst GitOps repository, but go to components development instead. So if we go to components development, there's a metaphor YAML here that says it's an application for the development instance of metaphor. And if if we went there, and you'll see that there's a chart that says that it should be metaphor at this particular version, and the values YAML specifies the domain that it's going to show up at, etc. So at this point, let's go back to metaphor and see how that deployment's going. So CI/CD will show you the pipeline, and the pipeline's already complete. Let's take a look at it in some detail, though. So when we ran the publish job before, we had gotten just to this point. The next thing that it's going to do is, in a different container, it's going to produce a container image. And then the next step, when it changes color here, is it's going to produce a new chart. It's going to publish that chart to Chart Museum, and that's all that this phase of the pipeline needs to do. Next, it's going to do a GitOps deployment to the development environment. Now, a GitOps deployment to the development environment is, it's not, GitOps works a little bit different than normal CI or old school CI used to work. It used to be that when you want to deploy an application to Kubernetes, you would have to kubectl apply, you would have to Helm install if you were using Helm, you would have to do some proactive action to get that content into the cluster. With GitOps, it works a little bit differently. Let's go over to the GitOps repo. Get rid of GitLab's advertisements there. And we will go to the registry, go to development like we were just looking at. We're going to look at components development. Look at the chart. So in order to deploy a new version of Metaphor to the development environment, the only thing that has to happen is you need to change that one value. Just by changing that value in the main branch, Argo CD, which is watching this directory through the use of the app of apps pattern, is going to recognize, hey, that value that's there is different than the value that's in Kubernetes, and it's going to do the work to reconcile that delta and try and get the desired state in GitOps to converge with the actual state in Kubernetes. So from a GitOps deployment standpoint, that makes the CI very simple to do. Really, all you need to do is have some automation that can update that file somehow. Of course, it needs to know where to get the chart from, and we have some magic to make that happen. But very straightforward delivery practice in GitOps. You basically just need to set that value to what you want to be in Kubernetes, and it will go to Kubernetes that way. And let's see, what else do we want to look at? Argo Workflows itself is also available to you. You can log in the same way that you log into everything else. And you'll see that those same jobs that were part of the pipeline in Metaphor are also available in Argo Workflows. That's because Workflows is doing the actual work. GitLab is just a shim layer to invoke those Argo workflows. So this offers you a new way of looking at these tools, looking at the CI that's running. Each one of those individual containers that I was referring to before, you can see some, explicit information about the inputs and outputs of invoking those different jobs. You can see the logs that executed when that part of the CI was running. We'll have a deep dive on Argo Workflows and our GitLab integrations there, but basically just know that that's available to you. Metaphor itself, let's take a look at that. So this cert hasn't come back yet. Let's take a look at, this is actually perfect timing. So we just deployed for the first time ever a brand new Metaphor to a development, staging, and production environment. Now, the first ever time that you deploy a application that includes an ingress, you have to resolve its certificate somehow. We're leveraging Cert Manager. and taking advantage of Let's Encrypt's cert issuer in order to issue small blast radius TLS certificates for each one of the applications that are ingressed through Ingress Nginx. So right now, if we take a look at Argo CD at Metaphor development, I hope I don't miss it. Yeah, no, it's still resolving. You can see here that there's a certificate request that has gone out, and there's a cert manager challenge occurring that once it's able to resolve, the Metaphor DNS has to fully propagate, and then the cert has to be, once the DNS is fully propagated, Let's Encrypt is able to send the certificate to Kubefirst, to Cert Manager, and then Cert Manager is going to place that certificate in a secret that Metaphor is going to take advantage of. So that's how you'll get your application. The DNS propagation times are a little iffy. Generally speaking, it takes about 10 minutes to get a DNS to fully propagate, and then maybe give it another extra 5 minutes to get the certificate to resolve. And then once that cert resolves, you'll be able to visit metaphor-development.yourcompany.io, or whatever your domain is, obviously. And you'll be able to see that your application successfully delivered to development staging production. So that's pretty much all we wanted to show you today. We do have some docs at docs.kubefirst.com that are walk into a lot more depth into each one of these different technologies. Definitely explore the docs, explore the platform. Up here in the community section, we have a link that can get you to our Slack workspace. Hop in, ask any questions that you want. We're dying to get feedback, dying to help you be on your way with the Kubefirst platform. You can also email us, and we have office hours if you're just struggling and want to have a quick private session to sort of walk through the Kubefirst platform and what's working and not working for you. Hop on in, schedule a meeting with us, and we will be happy to help you along your way. So I hope this was helpful. Join our community and let us know how we can help. I hope you enjoyed.